Hi, in this video, we're going to go back to some of our interesting, fascinating facts about the Lord that have been kind of misconstrued by Christianity and tradition. And we're basing our information on the search by Ron Charles. And let's look at the magi that came to see the Lord after he was born. Now, actually, he was not in a baby in a stable. During this time when they came to him, some believe that he was about 2 years old. Some believe he was a child. But what is interesting is there were several clues of events that would occur in the heavens. And these magi, who, to give you context, they are Persian, but they're from a line of magi that would have served with Daniel in Babylon and then later in the Persian court. So they would have been trained by the prophet, and they would have known what to look for and things like that for the coming king of the world. And so these are the men who are fruit of Daniel's ministry. And so you see how the Lord put Daniel in that place. Basically, he became the head leader of a cult. He used occultic powers to discern things, and God planted him in there and did such an influence over them that here they are years and years and years later looking for the king of the world. And so basically during the time of this time of the Lord, there was a pandemonium in the heavens. It excited the Magi so much that they traveled thousands of miles to find out what is going on here. Is this the time? And so, according to one medieval astronomer, Johann Kepler, there would have been a couple things. The first was there would have been a conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter in the constellation Pisces. It took place in April in the year 7 BC. Now, a German astronomer that's a friend of Dr. Charles, his name is Dr. Schnabel, he was deciphering some cuneiform texts in Babylon in 1925, and he confirmed the find by Kepler because he discovered in these texts that not only was there a conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter in the constellation Pisces in April 7 BC, but at the same time, the sun was in alignment with a total of 6 planets fanning out over a 15-degree arc. This also took place in the same year, in the same month of April. And then, so you have Jupiter and Saturn aligning, and then you have the 6 planets aligning with the sun in a 15-degree arc, and then get this, you have a total of 3 comets that would have been going all over the place during that time. It would have been seen over Judea in the spring of 7 BC, and 7 combined eclipses of the sun and moon would have been visible from Judea during the year of 7 BC. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn aligned with the earth in the constellation of Pisces during the Passover of the Jews in the year that Jesus, whom his followers called the Christ, was born. At the time of the birth of the prophet Jesus, over the city of Jerusalem could have been seen for 30 consecutive days brilliant comets streaking across the sky. This is from a 4th century Arabic astronomer. A Greek-Roman historian astronomer in the 2nd century said the tumult of the heavens with comets, alignments, eclipses, and conjunctions that accompany the birth of the one whom the sect of Christians called Christ surely must indicate that his was truly a miraculous birth. Even the heavens testify of him. Now, this is a pagan. This is not a believer. And so unbelievers can see and recognize the heavens are going berserkers, and they're like, okay, this must truly be miraculous, and they recognized it, and then Dr. Charles goes on and talks about how many magi came, and so we typically think 3, right? Well, actually, it was probably 100 ambassadors, along with their servants and slaves and different things, their officers and military. They were sent by the kings of the Empire of Parthia. There were 9 kings from the Indias, the Han Empire of China, the Kingdom of Babylon, the Arabs, the Kingdom of Persia, the Roman Syria. All of these were in search of this new king. And they came during the reign, of course, of Augustus. There was a great caravan of camels, ambassadors, and astronomers sent by 13 kings of the East during these days. And so, I mean, you can imagine, here you have this huge caravan sent by 13 kings. Now, that is incredible. You've got a nation that's supposed to recognize the signs of the coming of the Messiah, who spent their lives as professionals in the Word of the Old Testament. And you got comets everywhere, and you got, planets aligning, and you got all of this crazy stuff going on in the heavens, and they can't see it. But you have 13 kings that send their magi to this place called Judea. It'd be like going to Portales or Texaco, they send their ambassadors and they send their magi to see where is the king of the world. And that's incredible. And so you can imagine Herod, here he is, sitting on his throne, and all of a sudden you've got this huge delegation coming into his territory looking for the king of the world when he was supposed to be the king over his domain. And that's why he sought to kill all the children 2 and under. And so, again, it just shows that some of our ideas of what happened during that time was not necessarily accurate. The Latin historians say that 28 months after the affray in the heavens, during the days of Augustus, a caravan of 1,000 camels, armed escorts and emissaries, one unequaled by any known in all of Rome, seized upon the city of Caesarea Maritima, and then upon the city of Jerusalem, to the great distress of Herod, whom the Senate gave the title king, and of the city. Roman ambassadors from 13 eastern kingdoms had united and had traveled this long way to be allied to the world ruler whom they say had been born during this whole crazy stuff going on in the heavens at the time of the extra tax census commanded by Augustus and executed. Herod, feeling an obligation to protect the cessation of Rome, and not knowing that in the East an ancient and constant opinion had prevailed that it was destined there should be issued at this time from Judea those who should obtain universal dominion, killed more than 40 infant males in the district of Judea, attempting to abolish the new emperor 1 year before Herod's death. Wow. Wow. Later it says that some traveled for more than 2 years. See, that's why it's incorrect in most people's eyes that they came when the Lord was born in the stable, that he was about 2 years old, because it took them that long to travel there. They traveled 2 years, more than 2,000 miles, with a caravan of at least 800 to as many as 1,000 camels, more than 100 ambassadors representing the 13 different eastern kingdoms and empires, a large military escort, all of their needed servants, physicians, technicians, and caretakers, state officials and ministers, court historians and scribes, demanding that Herod take them to see the new world emperor, the king of the Jews. For the first and only time in history, 13 of the eastern world's greatest empires allied and united to fulfill one purpose. And it is not surprising then that Herod and all of Jerusalem were terrified with him. Wow. So, anyway, the birth of Jesus was a big deal. And what I fear is that the church is going to be just as blind to his coming, his second coming, as the religious leaders were to his first. We have doctrines that tell us we don't need to worry about being here, that, we'll be raptured out of here, and it actually puts on us this idea of, since we're not going to be here, we don't need to worry about it, and therefore we're not diligent in searching the scriptures on what the signs are. And it's very fitting that at this time of year of Passover 2014, which is Monday the 14th of April, that we read this information in this book, because it was at Passover that he was born, the Lamb who would take away the sins of the world. And this year, and in beginning on this Passover, we'll start 2 years of 4 blood moons, one on the Passover of this year, and then the Feast of Tabernacles later, and then next year the exact same feast. So the heavens are beginning to speak clearly, and we would do wise to begin to discern the signs of his second coming. So anyway, I hope this blesses you, and I will see you in the next video.